Don't you just hate it when you're driving down the road, you're bopping along to your music, and then suddenly it just stops? Well, that's been me since I bought this car, because this radio is absolutely awful and it keeps disconnecting my phone whilst I'm driving, and it really frustrates me. So today we're gonna fix that. Why would you fix a radio like that? No, I'm not gonna fix the radio, I'm gonna replace it. So let's jump in the TT and I'll show you what I bought to replace that crappy radio. So in these boxes here is a nice new radio. And I was looking around for other radios and people were saying the likes of Kenwood, Pioneer, they're all usually your good aftermarket radios, but with the fascia plate and the TT being the shape it is, I don't think a rectangle radio looks right in this car. So I've gone for one that suits the fascia and it looks like it blends in quite nicely and gives it a bit of a new update considering the car is an 07 plate. So in this box we've got a brand new fascia plate to again fit into there, so it looks quite nice, and it's a lot better than the condition of that one because it was glued in for some bizarre reason. We've also got a wiring loom to make it compatible with the TT. I'm pretty sure it just plugs in there, and then there for the likes of your subwoofers and stuff like that if you've got them. They were nice enough to give me a screwdriver, but I've got my own. Some screws to fix it and a pry tool to pry that one out, but I don't think that's going to be a problem for me. And in this box is the radio itself. Again, there's another wiring loom. I think that's for the likes of the GPS tracker there. I'll show you it all out the bag. And then that is the head unit itself. So let's get it out the box. Get two metal brackets. I'm only assuming that that's to bolt the radio to the mounts in the car. We'll figure it out. Then you've got mounting screws. And then the main radio itself. Let's get this out. Get the plastic off. And I've gone for something which has got Apple CarPlay in it. Well, I don't know how well it works, but it's got Apple CarPlay in it because the Bluetooth just wasn't working for me, and I've got an Apple phone. So this is the radio. I think it looks quite nice. It's like a big tablet type touchscreen. So we'll get it in, we'll see how it looks. But before we do that, actually we'll pull the old radio out. We'll plug it all up and see if this actually comes on, because it is an eBay radio. It's brand new, but it is an eBay radio, so I wanted to test it first before I go through all the effort of fitting it. But even if it doesn't work, it'll still look 1,000 times better than the one we're taking out. The first thing we'll do is we'll pull this old tired stereo out, and you can see the absolute rat's nest of cables behind it. So a lot of this is because of the radio, whereas the stock loom only goes to about there. So on this stock loom, you just pull this tab up, disconnects, and that's that old one taken out. And this, I believe, the connector's there for the antenna. So again, pinch the tab in, pull that out, and that's that off. It looks snapped, as you might not be able to see it. I'll try and zoom in on it, but the edge of it there is snapped. As long as you get a connection, you should be okay. We'll get this out the way and off to the skip, because this won't be good to anyone. Then in this bag here is all the cables for the radio, and then in the other box is all the cables to make these work with the stock loom in the car. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get these out, we'll see what condition they're in, because we might have to start splicing and crimping a few cables to get them fit. And hopefully the first thing I need to check is that I've got everything in this bag, because if I haven't, I'm gonna have to start writing a few emails. So this is the GPS. This is for the sat-nav system on the radio, but with it having Apple CarPlay, I'll probably use Google Maps anyway. But this is always good to have, just in case you haven't got that option. So that is the GPS. I'm assuming you stick that somewhere, either on the windscreen or just behind the dash, so it can get a signal and update your maps. But again, I'm not confident the maps on this will be updated anyway. These are the sound cables, so you can see all the colours. I'll be honest with you, I haven't got a Scooby-Doo what's what, but they are labelled. So that's a subwoofer cable. Don't think I've got a subwoofer anyway. And that's your auxiliary in, your right, your left, video, audio, whatever. So we'll need a few of these, but we won't need all of them. So any we don't need, we'll tape away and we can put them to one side. This, I have no idea what this is for. And this looks to me like it's the power lead for the radio, and like I said, there's nothing on it, so we're gonna have to splice into it and connect these to the other loom, which then plugs into the car to make sure the radio works. So that's going to be the first job we'll have to do, to make sure that this works before we install it all. Oh, and there's two USB connectors, which is always good, so I can get rid of the Siggy lighter connector I've got for my charger, and I can use these. And you might be able to connect your phone with these, I'm not sure yet. So I've just had a look in the other box with the other loom, and it's good news if it works, because in this loom here, so on this loom I noticed there's a cable there. Is it there? Is that one? Yeah. That cable there, you see the plug, that looks to be the exact same as the one we pulled out the other radio. So hopefully if this has been wired into this correctly, we won't need to splice any of these cables on, and we can just put that to one side for now. So we'll plug this in, we'll plug it in there, and we'll see if the radio powers up. And if it does, that saves us a job. Well guys, got everything plugged in. So the audio out cables are plugged in, the power cable's plugged in, the CAN bus decoder is plugged in. I think that's so it can communicate from the car to the radio itself. It's plugged in there, but when you flip it on, get the key in ignition and turn it on, the ignition's on, nothing happens. So I'll go through the wiring diagrams, I'll see why it's not working, and when I finally figure it out, I'll get back to you, because I'm not leaving here until that radio works.
A few moments later.
So after a while of trying to figure it all out, I decided to swap the new CAN bus module with the one off the other radio, and that seems to have fixed the whole powering on problem. So if I get the key in the ignition now, the radio boots up, so that works. But then my next issue is when I go down to audio, it is playing, but nothing happens. So the radio now powers up and I can see everything on screen, but unfortunately the main use of a radio, it's not playing any output audio to any of the speakers. It's not working at all. So now I'm going to have a look around online, see if anyone's had any issues with these cars in terms of fitting radios, and get back to you, because this looks like it could be a lengthy process. Please work. Yes! Let's pause that so I don't get a copyright strike. So, after a very long time of trying to figure out what was going on, I decided to take myself off to the Audi TT forums, where luckily enough I found someone who'd had the same problem as me. And I only realised what the issue was because I started to splice up the old loom off the old radio, because I thought that the new loom was probably damaged. So what I decided to do was I took the old radio loom, started to splice it all up with connector blocks into the other connector I had, because I mentioned it before. And on the old radio, it had on the top a pin-out diagram for what goes where, that one on the bottom there. Obviously there's the pin-out. And then I got to a cable called AMP-C. And when I was looking around, I realised I didn't have an AMP-C connector on the other harness going into the new cable. So I was thinking, what's AMP-C? When I Googled it, I found out that that's the amplifier control cable. So what that does is the amplifier gets the input of the audio from the radio. It then amplifies it to the speakers, and that's what gives you your audio. But I didn't have any of that connected because I didn't know it needed to be. And I didn't know what it was, I'll be quite honest with you. But then when I looked on the back of this other loom, the one that came supposedly all wired up, I found that cable, amp control. And then when I looked into it further, the audio output from the radio, which is this plug, had a blue wire on it. So I thought, surely that's got to be the amp control cable. So I spliced it together, just put it in a connector block just to see how it goes. I'm going to clean that up. And lo and behold, the radio actually works. So if you're going to fit an aftermarket Chinese radio, something off eBay, you'll have an amp control cable, and you'll need to make sure that that's wired in. Otherwise it won't work. It won't get any inputs from the radio to the speakers, and then you won't end up with any music. So after nearly 2 hours trying to figure that out, we can finally get this bolted all back into the car properly, and we can get it all wired up, neaten it all up, and we can finally listen to music. Such a long process. So if you're fitting a radio to your Audi TT and that's why you're watching this video, hopefully those 2 hours of research on my behalf have saved you a very long time, and you can get your radio put straight in at work. So that's exactly what we're going to do now. So apologies for the lighting. It was actually light when I started doing this, but it slowly gotten dark because it's took me so long But it's time to get the radio bolted to the facial plate, and to do this there's just 5 screws around the edges, so when we put our foot down it doesn't jump out the centre console. If you're enjoying the video so far, go click the subscribe button down below because it really helps the channel out. That's the radio secure, now let's get it in the dash. Now we'll get the loom plugged into the radio, starting with the power cable, audio in. Then this came with 2 USBs, so get them plugged in. USB 1, USB 2. Now you can see all the connectors are in. We've got the 2 USB cables, audio cables, power cable. Now we just need to get this one put into the car. And then this is the aerial cable. This one here plugs into the green on the back. We'll plug that in. Now this radio does come with the likes of GPS for sat-nav and stuff. I'm going to connect it and just put it in the back of the radio for now. I'm not going to wire it anywhere else because chances are if I'm using maps I'll use Google, and I'll only ever use that if it gets stuck with no service, and hopefully that doesn't happen. So all the cables are plugged in the back of the radio. We just need to shove them in that hole, and then this, because it's got little snap tabs there and there, should just press in, and then that is the radio fitted. Apologies for the lighting, I did start this when it was light. So now I'm going to push all the radio cables into the back of the radio recess and hopefully be fit. And then after some messing around of trying to get this radio square and get it home, I eventually got it in. The fitment's not amazing, but it'll do and it doesn't look too bad. Now for the satisfying part of peeling the plastic off, and this radio is fitted. So now the radio's all pressed in, all the cables are behind it and it's all neat. So we'll get the car turned on and we'll see what it looks like when it actually comes on. So even when it's off, it actually looks so much better than the old one. So let's turn the car on and we'll see how it looks. And there she is. I know this has got Apple CarPlay, so it should connect, but I don't think it will because I'm recording this on my phone, just purely down to how big the car is because it's only small. But that's what it looks like originally on the main page. When you swipe over, it's got a similar view to Apple CarPlay, but on this you've got to go to, I think it's Z-Links, and then that screen comes up and it supposedly connects your phone to the car. So I've just connected my phone to the car. It has registered it because it's coming up with the green spinning thing saying connecting, please wait. Now when this comes on, it should come on with the Apple CarPlay screen, hopefully. If not, then I've been done over. And there it is, the Apple CarPlay home screen. That's so much better than what it was. I know you can't see much because it's dark, but again, I did start this when it was light. But all the functionalities on it seem to work. It seems okay. Just turn my lights on, and these little lights on the side actually light up, which is quite good because I was worried I wouldn't be able to use them. But as far as aftermarket radios go, this actually isn't that bad. And even with all the issues we had, it just seems like a much better upgrade than the old radio. So hopefully you've learned something in terms of what you need to do for the TT to fit a radio, because I 100% have. I've done it on other cars and it's so much easier, but at least we know that the amp control cable needs to be plugged in. So yeah, now I can actually listen to my music and it won't go off, I hope. And it just looks so much nicer in the car. It makes it look that little bit newer, even though it is a 2007 car. Gone through the settings and I've just realised the car has YouTube, so you can watch my videos on your car. So it's been a roller coaster of emotions trying to fit that radio. I'm glad I did it, and again I learned something new. But if you're going to fit your radio to the Audi TT, I'd highly recommend keeping an eye out for that amp control cable, because that caught me off guard for a good 2 hours. But I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notifications bell so you get an update when I post the next video, and I'll see you in the next one.
Afraid to turn out the lights.